We're ready. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've got 1:00. So the Department on Aging Advisory Board meeting is now hereby called to order. I do want to say hello to Julie, but she's not here. We do have Julie Hackett. I'm not sure everybody knew that she was voted in here. She was totally voted in by the county, so she is an official member.
Okay.
Next on my agenda would be to say hello to Terry Mining, correct? She's going to do a presentation. Not yet. We're just going to introduce you. She's going from the Adrian Senior Center, and she's going to do a presentation later. And I'll jump into that just real quickly here. Down in our agenda, under number 4, if you look at B, you'll see that she's making a presentation. This is something new we've added to our agenda, and hopefully every board meeting will have someone else here. So
Good.
Okay, and with that, I say welcome to everyone, and we'll do the roll call.
Terry Collins.
Here.
Carol Zawacki.
Here.
Gloria Bortnicek.
Here.
Russ Amo.
Here.
Catherine Judkins. Darwin Van Dievender.
Yes.
Jeffrey DeCenzo.
Here.
Bert Fenby.
Here.
Ralph Tillotson. Carol Bolton. Chris Peoples. Alan Dickerson.
Here.
And Julie Hackett.
Okay. We have enough, I would say, and we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from last month's meeting. If there's any adjustments or amendments or anything that needs to be done to those minutes, so we'll entertain that. Other than that, we'll look for a motion to approve.
There are no additions or corrections. I move they be approved as submitted.
Support. You got that? Okay. Approval and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unopposed? Moving on. We're already down to you on the director's report, and it's carried.
Let's start with our pretty colored highlight page. Unless you printed it on your black and white printer, then it's not so pretty. A couple of things I wrote down to bring to light, through some conversations with Chris and Alan, it brought to light some things that made me think I could elaborate on that for everyone. So under services, which is in green and about the middle of the page, it says units served. For clarification, our units there are hours of service, which is why it might have a 0.25 or a 0.5 or a 0.75. We do quarter of an hour units. Transportation units obviously are miles because we acknowledge that. Units of service for Daybreak are also hours. Any other is meals would be per meal units. The other notation that I wrote, statements printed are only for those services that are in the home. In the home services for statements to be printed are home delivered meals, homemaker services, personal care services, respite services, and transportation. I guess that one's not necessarily in the home, but those are those items that would be listed on statements. Statements are printed monthly. It indicates to our clients how many units of service they got that month, the recommended donation, the true cost of the service, and a little note from us. It's a long letter to say all those things. Chris has a question.
Yes.
Could we see an example of one of those statements, please?
Sure can. I can certainly get you a sample.
Thank you.
KZ.
what it actually costs us and what we put out for it.
We did one last year as kind of a tentative look. But we weren't confident that we were using all the appropriate numbers. So Becky and I have been refining that in the last couple of months. So absolutely hope to have one of those for you. So that it's more definitive. We did it. But there's some ways we utilize the grant where we apply more things to one than another. So we may try and do a better look. We did a better analysis for 25 than we did for 24. Does that make sense? And we recognize that we weren't maybe putting the proper cost effective in each category to know that truly. So we've been doing a better job in 25 to have a better grasp of what that true number is.
Thank you.
Did you turn on your mic? Your little green button on?
Casey, you haven't been on that one.
Everybody has their green button on, okay.
I have one more thing. Are there more questions?
I have one,
Alan.
or possibly a number of things. Of everything that you are reporting here, Carrie, is everything that you are being reached out to supply support to individuals throughout the county being met?
Are you asking me if there's a wait list?
Yes. Is there,
Yeah,
I should say, how many people are possibly
are not being
not
served?
being served?
We do absolutely everything in our power for home delivered meals. That is one that we do not, if they meet the criteria, we're filling that need to the best of our abilities. Home services, there is a wait list. Do you know the current wait list?
I know it from the previous month and it was at 98.
That's what I was thinking, 98 or 99. And that would be for our home services piece. That would be homemaker and PC combined in home respite. That sounds like a really big number. That there's 100 people out there waiting for service. A big challenge to know about our wait list is that we try and serve Morenci group with Morenci staff so that we're not having somebody from Adrian drive to Morenci. We pay mileage. We'd rather that it was a community member doing that. So we may only have one person in Morenci. When that person's schedule is full, it's full. I can't put more on it. And so until we can hire a staff or have enough on the wait list to accommodate another staff in that area, there's going to be some Morenci people on the wait list. So the wait list in Adrian is almost always less than our other pockets in the community, just because of we can capture some of the edges of those communities, but to get right in the corners, we got to have somebody there. So it peaks and wanes as to what our number is based on, do we have a staff in that area? Do we have people on the wait list for that area? And there will be people waiting for homemaker services and waiting for home care, or personal care, two different skill sets. So two different staff that would be needed in that community. So I may have a homemaker who may have an opening, but if somebody needs personal care, then I may not have that to be able to fill.
And is the department looking at or exploring avenues to bring staff on in some way, shape, or form?
Every day. Always welcome for suggestions. Would love to have more conversation if somebody has some ideas how to recruit, maintain, support
And
those
does the
staff.
is the department potentially looking at this being an issue as far as compensation to these individuals or just a lack thereof?
I think it's a workforce issue. I really do. Because we have had in the past nearly 50 and we're closer to 30 right now.
Home services staff. But about
Well, that was pretty good, wasn't it? staff. So a significant reduction in our workforce in the last 5 years.
Interesting. Okay. As long as it's being looked into as far as how can we bring staff on or service these people.
Some of the things that we've been doing, and I know some of this came on just as you were joining the board, Alan, were things like that new program that we have. It's called Mobile Track, which allows us to, it has reduced our, instead of me handing someone a piece of paper, they have to come to the office, they may or may not get it. They have an app on the phone. It gives them all the information they have on the day they need to go to those clients. So that has really helped keep us going, because if we have an addition to somebody, because maybe some client is in the nursing home, we can fill that hole for them almost immediately. And they'll know it and they have the information right there, instead of missing clients, because it takes a lot of time and energy to give them that information by phone, by text, by email, by paper. Mm-mm.
So it's not just an issue that's known to us as well, as far as we'd probably consider our home care and PC and, home delivered meals as home and community-based services. And across the state of Michigan right now, there's just under 7,000 individuals, older adults, on waiting lists for those home and community-based services. In a lot of areas, there are people on waiting lists for meals as well too. So I'm not saying that because that makes anybody feel better. It's just a statewide problem that's being looked into. So there's a lot of people that are starting to come to the table right now to try to think of some creative solutions, because if we look at that aging trend, the need's only going to get to be more, right? So there's a lot of people talking about it on at big tables right now too. So
Yeah, none of us are getting any younger, me included.
Mhm.
So if I call, I want to be able to be taken care of.
Would be at the top of that list.
You were out looking for, you're going to get a meal later on.
What's that, Russ?
You went through the kitchen area.
That is correct.
So you know where you're going to get a meal.
Yes, that is correct. Yep. So, all right. Thanks, Carrie.
Are those staff volunteers that are given some sort of expense compensation, or are they actually W-2 employees?
They are county employees.
Okay.
The department hires them. So they are hired, they're paid by us. They're reimbursed mileage for their travels between clients,
Okay.
not to the first and from the last, but between. So they are compensated, yes, and they
Okay.
are paid staff.
Thank you.
I think, Dylan speaks very eloquently about things that are happening at the next level, and we have a great benefit in that he is part of the SAC.
MSAC, it's Michigan Senior Advocates Council.
You might as well share what that is too.
So I'm also on the WellWise Services Advisory Council. That's how I came to be in that MSAC role. And they asked me to join MSAC, and that across the state of Michigan, there's 16 area agencies on aging. We fall under Region 2, which is covered by WellWise Services. So that's Jackson, Lenawee, Hillsdale. So there's 16 regions across the state of Michigan, and they each send 2 representatives to this MSAC meeting on a monthly basis. A lot of times it's Zoom, but they meet in Lansing, right around the Capitol building. And one where they always send us updates as to what's happening at the state level as far as legislation goes. But also we know about movements that are happening in these other regions like the UP and Detroit and out west. So that's how I come to hear about some of these things. And last week I attended Older Michiganians Day on the state capitol lawn, and we got to hear speakers and testimonials to those things. So and part of the WellWise Advisory Council is I get monthly updates on their service area as well, and what those numbers look like that we report out as well. So is that where you were going with that? Okay.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yes, thank you.
But with MSAC, we actually we're still in that process. It's been kind of hectic, but we all talk about issues that, our counties and areas are facing as a whole. And we kind of tackle those from not a legislative standpoint, but advocacy standpoint. And we bring that back into our communities. So.
Thank you, Dylan. All right. I also noticed on this piece of paper that I failed to put the April numbers, budget numbers on the bottom. So what you might want to know is that the monthly revenue for April was 103,668,000. So 103,668. And after it adds and does its special math, wrong column. I didn't give you a percentage on that one. Monthly expenses was 366,619. So 366,619. And the percent of the budget spent is 44.5%. Keeping in mind that would be the first month. That's our 7th month of 12. And under that same category, I shared with you some numbers. We've started doing some did you know information for our staff and thought I would bring it to you as well. This is a little information about our congregate meal sites and what does it take to run a curbside or our congregate meal sites, including the curbside. So all in, our total budgeted cost for those senior centers in general is $954,000. Of those, the two largest pieces are, of course, our staff at $325,000 and food cost at $109,000. Federal funds that have a risk of being lost or reduced are $145,000. So we talked at our last staff meeting about certainly we have millage funding, but millage funding can only go so far. So it's important that we be mindful of how are we utilizing those funds? Where are they coming from? How are we supporting our senior centers? Are we doing everything fiscally responsible? But also to investigate what is the importance of a senior center? How much investment do we put into that? And what value does it have in the community? So we've certainly been taking some look at, as we started with this centralized kitchen journey, we started looking at what of our senior centers. We started looking at what do we have for products on site? Are we all using the same ones? Are there ways we could save money? One specific item was that if we use the same paper towels in every site, I'll say Gordon's, I think it was actually provider of the manufacturer, provided us with paper towel holders for every site, every one that we needed for free if we use that particular paper towel. Well, that helps us tremendously if we can order one paper towel. We don't have to have a case for every senior center. We can send them what they need when they need it, which reduces our inventory, our expenses overall, and keeps us a little more lean and a little more conscious of what we're doing. So those pieces have been happening all along, but then I'm bringing back the question of what value does a senior center have and what weight do we put on that? So I invited Turi to come and speak with us today to talk a little bit about her vision. Turi comes to us with a different line in the fact that she has been a senior center director since 2011 or 12, somewhere in there. And she has had 2 roles as center directors. She served at least 10 years in Hudson as a center director. And currently for the last, is it 2 years now? Has been at the Adrian Senior Center. So two very different centers with two very different perspectives, but I invited her to share a little bit.
Yep.
Hello, everybody. So Carrie invited me here, obviously, to express to you the values of the senior centers. I am a staunch advocate for the senior centers. As Carrie said, I have been in both small community and now our largest center. I've also had to utilize the services that we offer for my own family. So I have come what I believe is full circle. We have a particular verbiage of what every senior center is, what their goal is. But in short, every senior center's goal is to enhance the lives of seniors. With that being said, the seniors that are within the senior centers, we also want them to be a positive for their very own communities. So that's a goal outside of the senior center as well. So there's value within the center and there's value on the outside of the centers. We provide your basics. We provide physical exercise. We provide social interaction. We provide a nutritious meal. We provide mental stability by just being together. But in each center, they play a slightly different role. In Adrian, we're a busy, bustling center, and we can fill pretty much all of your needs. We've got multiple exercise classes. We've got rooms with physical, mental, emotional avenues for everyone. With that being said, we do a great job of pulling in the senior community. But if they didn't want to come, they do have some other avenues. There's Planet Fitness. You know, there are some restaurants, there are some different things. So there are avenues for seniors. If you go out into the rural communities, there are not those opportunities. They just simply aren't there. If we keep our seniors healthy in their homes and in their communities, we are going to actually address some of the issues of needing home services. So the more that we can keep seniors active, physically, mentally, emotionally, the better off our healthcare system is, the better off our home services needs are met, the better off mental stability of seniors is met. There is a very large portion of the senior community that struggles with mental depression. They don't feel like they're worthy of being a part of the community anymore. They don't feel like they're a healthy part of their family unit. But if you can keep them healthy within the centers, that is also a benefit to their family. We have got a very busy center in Adrian. When I was in Hudson and it was a one room, I got to know every single senior, pretty much their families as well, and I could spot their needs. I knew how you came in every single day. I knew if there was a family problem. I knew if you walked into my office and shut the door, you needed me. But I also knew, without you ever asking, usually, that there was something that needed to be addressed. I could reach out to you, I could reach out to a family member. It really isn't any different in the bigger center. And like I said, you can go to Planet Fitness, or you can go to a restaurant here in town. but there won't be anybody who knows your needs. When I'm walking better, I am up and down that building. I am in and out of those rooms. I am making sure that I know all of you. I am making sure that I know how you behave from day to day. And if you're not acting in a particular manner, I may reach out to you, or I may reach out to someone who you are with every single day in that center, because I know they're better equipped to help you. The centers do become the extended families. When our seniors don't want to reach out to their families, they don't want to be a burden, it's the family of the center that makes a difference. And if we can stay healthy together, we are healthy as a community, and we address so many issues. I can give you examples of, I came into the Adrian Center and there was a gentleman who used to sit on the bench, very quiet, very subdued to himself, or he sat in a room with the light off. Every day I would just sit down on the bench next to him very quietly. How are you today? How are you doing? He struggled. He struggled a lot. But every day I sat quietly with him. I'll tell you what, he is up and down that center. He is in there every day. He is in and out every room. He's painting us all pictures. I've got a model car. He still struggles, and I know that. And some days he'll just want to come and get a meal and go sit in a quiet room by himself, and I encourage him to do that. But that's what we're about. He would be probably home by himself and really, really struggling. Those are the changes that we make in people's lives. If you don't have the center in a rural community, they will stay home and they will go down in their health and their mental stability. And in the big picture, it's really no different in a big city, because you don't want to go to eat by yourself. And I don't think I can see my mom going to Planet Fitness. They need the interaction. I wrote down all kinds of little things here to try and keep me on track. I didn't do a very good job.
On the contrary.
It sounds like you're doing some great things. Curious, what do the senior senators do for the community as a whole, you know, not just older adults? Is there interaction there as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We do not want people to think that we're always asking for something from them. I like to make sure that the community knows that you have a community that's also very giving. They want to be part of the community and they want to feel useful. They want to help. Some of the smaller centers do things like adopt kids for the Christmas program from school. They jump into that. Here in Adrian a few years ago, there was a group that discovered how many homeless kids we have. They're living in cars or they're sleeping from couch to couch. And they brought out boxes to the centers for us to fill with toothpaste, toothbrushes, underwear, you know, all of those things. Those boxes were overflowing. We also serve the community by, I want to say allowing others to donate their time to us. We have so many drivers who continually tell us that they get more out of delivering meals than the seniors do. You're teaching our young people how to volunteer and be part of a community and to reach out. They see their parents do it, their grandparents do it, and they do get involved. I used to take my own daughter delivering meals. We have LISD, who's become a wonderful asset. That gives them the ability to give back to the community by us being there. We have LISD that comes into the center and they are a welcoming committee. They wrap our silverware. They wander through the building and say hello. We have opened up our doors to that part of the community so that they can be productive as well. Seniors in our community are constantly donating to the food pantries. Our knitting groups continue to do the hats for the preemie babies. I've got a lady working on a whole box of mittens that she takes to the schools because the kids lose their mittens all the time. They are a very giving community. And I think it gives them a place to be that.
And a sense of being. That's great.
Does anybody have any questions for me? Yes.
Not a question. A couple of quick things, though. One, I would remind you that you have a great exercise and balance class there. Maybe you wouldn't have fallen if you had been taking the class.
That's a possibility.
I also want to personally testify about the importance of the program. So my mother lives on her own in Columbus, OH, and until COVID, she drove herself to her senior center 3 times a week for exercise. And she drove herself to the store and church every week. And then came COVID. She stayed home. She was afraid of what might happen. So now she's 94. She's never gone back. She has trouble getting around. She's lost her mobility. And of course, she also refuses to go to doctors, but that's another story. But, you know, the difference, so she really appreciated it. And I think more people should avail themselves of the services. The last thing I would say, I've been on the board a few years. I think our greatest challenge is getting people between 60 and 80 into the centers and, you know, maybe somehow changing the image of who is served there. I think that's very important.
And that is definitely a goal. We have been referring to ourselves as the Senior Activity Center because it lets people know we're not a senior center because everybody's not old enough to go. I have heard that a lot of times.
Sometimes you have bands there to.
Yes, we do.
People don't.
Yes, we do. And you know, you mentioned COVID, and that was actually on my notes. During COVID, I don't know how other senior centers in other counties responded. I feel like we did a fabulous job. At the time, I was in Hudson. COVID was a horrible thing. It locked people up, our young and our old, and they deteriorated. We, by forming families within our centers, they reached out to each other. And maybe they did things they shouldn't have done, but they did them anyways because they weren't going to make it alone. They would get together and play cards together. They made sure each other had food. Each center was able to open up in our parking lots in open air. I held games in the parking lot with chairs separated from each other. We were still trying to bring them in. I sent letters. I started a paragraph, gave kind of a synopsis of a story, and I started the story, and I put enough envelopes in the package and sent it to one person. They got to put their little part down, they sent it on to the next person, and so on. We had a group that drove around and stuck pink flamingos in people's yards just to say, we're still here. And every single one of our centers did those types of things. Every single center that we have has a value, no matter where they're at and no matter their size. They serve a purpose. And we saw that in a lot of ways when good times are bad and when they're really awful.
I don't know that you can answer this question. Carrie might need to answer it. Of this budget, how much of the cost is building, rent, mortgage, utilities, that sort of thing? If the question is, how do we reduce cost without reducing staff? Is it feasible to explore partnering with existing organizations in rural communities like church buildings that sit empty all week, that would have space that could be rent-free? Like,
It is always worth those. It is always worth those investigations. I will share that we have some amazing landlords right now who really do help us keep that cost as low as possible. You'd be shocked at how affordable some of those centers really are. Always worthwhile to investigate, always worth conversation. Any amount that we have is divided. So how much of this, I would have to look to answer that
Okay.
truly, Chris. That's part of that conversation that Becky and I were talking about as to, are we allocating the right amounts to the right people? Because historically, we would say, well, it cost $1,000, and that's really bad math. Let me make it easy for myself. It costs $900 a month for us to have that particular center. We would put $300 into home delivered meals, $300 into senior centers, and $300 into congregate. Well, the answer is some centers need more space or utilization for home delivered meals because they cook there. So we should have been putting more emphasis on dividing that appropriately. And so that's where we're getting better at allocating. But historically, we'd say 1/3, 1/3, 1/3.
okay, good, thank you.
Terry, thank you.
You're very welcome.
I wonder who took your place in Hudson? Was it Hudson you were at?
Hudson I was in. Right now,
Yeah.
Katie is there.
Who?
Her name is Katie.
Katie?
Katie Engel.
I would think you would be hard to replace is why I'm saying.
That's very kind of you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Emma?
Thank you, Terry.
That's it for you, then. Are you ready for the next phase here is existing business, and under that is the centralized kitchen. Can I say a few things about that? You want?
Sure.
I went on that website, Lenawee website, and back to the Ways and Means Committee that you chaired. On that website is a virtual tour of what the kitchen looks like, supposed to look like, as well as at the end of it, there's up-to-date pictures. I would recommend all of you to do that. I spent a half an hour listening to this man at a meeting that he handled. And when they first did this, and it is well done, and it is an eye opener as to what's going on over there. So it's Lenawee, lenawee.mi.us, I believe. Go in there and look for it, and it would be helpful to all of you. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Is that the tour that you fly through the building?
Yes.
Is that the one you're referencing?
Yes. Well, they slowed it down. They told us they slowed it down. People were getting sick watching it.
Yes, they were. Me. Current status of the centralized kitchen? Gosh, it feels like it's taking forever and going really fast right now. I stopped in a week or so ago. The coolers are in. The walls are painted, the coolers are in. It's really starting to take shape. The ceiling they were working on whatever it is that makes the ceiling go in. And so I would expect by now it's starting to really start to look like what we want it to look like. I'm excited to see equipment start coming in. Those ovens and things like that will be really exciting. I'm sure we'll do some more peeks at it as we get closer, but it has been fun to watch. In the meantime, there has been an enormous amount of behind the scenes work that has happened. I spoke earlier about doing those cleanups and clean outs and what do we have and what do we not need and what do we need to get rid of. Because at one time, we had at least 3 centers that cooked the biggest part of the meals, and almost every center cooks some part of the meal at one point. And so we have a lot of equipment we won't use. We have a lot of pans. We have way too many scoops and spoons and things like that. So we're trying to compile those together, and we will probably have, Connie keeps saying it's a garage sale, and I say we don't have a garage. But we'll probably have some kind of a sale to dispose of some of those items, both large and small. That also has left us down some historic roads, which has been fun. We've been reaching out to old past employees that were part of that journey with us and sharing some of those things. Connie has acquired the old recipe boxes from years past. She shared at our staff meeting a delightful dish that I'm sure you will all want a copy of. I can't even remember what she called it. Do you? That gives it away. It was lemon jello, cottage cheese, onion, salt and pepper.
Sounds delicious.
And broccoli was in there too.
Yeah, carrots. It was carrots. It was crazy. And I thought, people put all this together and thought it was delicious. That one probably won't make the new the new box. I think that's exactly what it was, Jeff. Instead of dump cake, it was dump jello. That's what I have written down for the kitchen.
Okay, any questions at all? On to new business. Is there any? Oh, I'm sorry. KZ, go ahead.
In our minutes, it stated that the Michigan Medicare Assistance Program has switched to the Michigan State Health Insurance Assisted Program. Have we seen any ramifications of that yet? How it differs or how the monies will be?
How do I answer that? Yes and no. But I suppose you want more than that. So, we have learned that in theory, the SHIP program would operate exactly as the MAP program was. The MAP program was a SHIP program, is a SHIP program. We would have been doing exactly what we expect that the program would do. The volunteers are the same. The trainings have continued. In fact, some of the MAP staff SHIP leaders now. There is rumor that the SHIP monies did not make the skinny budget from the federal government, which would mean that there would be no program starting October 1st. So we're waiting to see how that trickles down. But in the meantime, October 1st would be just before open enrollment period for prescription drug plans, which is one of the busiest seasons of a MAP counselor. So we continue to move forward as if we think it's going to be there, because that's all we can do. So we know it's an asset. The advocacy program for that is huge right now across the state and across the nation. So we know that there's lots of people hoping that it is in the budget. In the meantime, we'll do what we have to do. We'll keep doing our trainings and being prepared.
Anything else?
Good question.
Yes.
That, the same vein of brings to mind, I have attended more than a few meetings over the last few weeks where they're reliant on grants, obviously. Several of, not several, but at least a few of which have October fiscal years. And it's quite surprising to me that, assuming that we're in a fiscal year that starts October, you're probably well into the budget developing process currently. It amazed me when I find out, apparently this is the case here. In years past, many of those agencies were somewhat aware now of what they were going to be getting in October and were able to budget and plan as a result of that knowledge. But I'm finding in every one of them, and I'm hearing now, nobody knows. I was at the Michigan Works board yesterday. They're at risk of losing, one, because they have totally reformed. Where at the upper level in Michigan, there used to be 5 people doing specific work. Now there's one, and that person also has a portion of northern Indiana. They have no idea what they're getting in October, yet they have to make specific plans now. So everybody is, health board yesterday, I was there, while they don't believe there's going to be cuts. They're doing all the planning, so it's kind of it's a quagmire that really bothers me, because all of these entities who serve the public, who serve population, not just seniors, but in general, the population, are having to plan for their services, having to plan for their staff, having to plan for their capital operations, yet have no idea what they're going to have.
Yeah.
That's disturbing, I think. Just wanted to make the statement.
That kind of holds true with Family Medical Center as well. You know, with the Medicaid thing, you know, people have to work. They may work, but not be able to report their hours, you know, because they don't have the wherewithal. But the way Family Medical Center works is if they see people on Medicaid, then they get reimbursed at cost. And in exchange for that, they take the uninsured. And if that number of Medicaid goes down, it's going to be very, 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 and there's no way to plan, like Terry says.
Well, I would say to you that you have the whole country is in that position right now.
Us, yeah.
I think yesterday, the part of the big bill that our president is working on got voted in on, what was it?
Passed the House.
Passed the House and now goes on to the Senate. Those answers are going to come if they can do something with that bill one way or the other, I think. And we're all kind of waiting around to see what's going to happen there. It affects everybody. You can see it.
That's true. Specifically, when I was talking when we were dealing with the Michigan Works, the order, if you would, given from on high to the Department of Labor, which has trickled down to them, is you want to play in this ball game, show me how good you are. So if you don't measure up to the standard, you're gone. You're out of here.
Yeah.
And it's that quick and that immediate. They're compiling statistics beyond that just baffle me, because they have to have these in short order. I'm not sure if you're in the same boat, but have to have these in short order, or money isn't going to be there. There is no guarantee for anything anymore.
Right.
It's scary, I think.
Russ, I want to take what you said just one step further to say that we sit and wait. Well, the answer is we are not sitting and waiting. We are having these conversations. We are talking about it at every level of our agency to say, what if, maybe, how can we do this? And balancing that with, we may be okay. We will be okay. It may look different. We can't put panic in. We can't panic staff. We can't panic the world, but we need to be able to say, we have to have a realistic grasp of where we are, what we can do, what we can't do, and how we might get there. We're having conversations just about like we did with the senior center. You know, what's the value there? What could we do without it? Are there pieces we could utilize some other funding? Are there ways that we could collaborate better? Those are all conversations that the center directors are having. How do we do that differently or better that might help us? We're looking at how do we partner with other agencies who might be doing the same thing? Do we all need to provide a meal? Could we have conversations around that food insecurity piece? Chris brought up a great idea about, do we have better conversations with our community? Is there a way to reduce costs to keep our senior centers in our communities? So there's lots of pieces that we do every day to have those conversations. Is it time to raise our suggested donations? Is it time to have that conversation? Those suggested donations haven't changed since I've been in this office, not as the department director, but when I moved to the main office in 2005. There has not been an increase in those recommended donations. So in 20 years, maybe it is time to say that we could raise that slightly and would it make a difference? I don't know. Is the economy accepting of that? Would it help us? I don't know. But those are conversations we're having and plan to include you. We're just not at that point to bring you something worthwhile.
I don't want to belabor this point, but one of the outfalls of this that's really starting to swell up and create a problem is one of the agencies I was dealing with had a young man working for him who was pretty bright, that they were loving this kid. He was doing some great things. His position was on the rocks for the future funding. So they came to him one morning just recently and said, we'd like to develop this. We want you to start this program starting in October. And he handed them a letter of resignation. He said,
Yeah.
I can't do this. I don't know if I'm going to be here in October. I've got a wife and 2 kids. I've got to find a job that's
Stable.
That's stable. That's, yeah. So they're losing quality people in the same vein.
On that note, we don't have a public here, so I don't think there is any public comment. And we're getting down to the, any other board member comments is where I'm at. Go ahead.
I know I'm not a board member.
No,
But I would like to offer congratulations to Dylan. He completed the Leadership Lenawee group. Graduation was actually at lunchtime just before we came here today. So he has completed a 9-week program that I think will benefit not only him, but the entire department. So graduation was today.
Congratulations.
you sure are busy, Dylan.
Carrie keeps me pretty busy. Thanks, Russ.
Okay, is there anything else?
Any updates on discussions on the picnic?
I do not, but I can tell you a secret. The Adrian Senior Center is going to be hosting a dueling pianos event in August.
Play piano too?
Details to come.
Oh, okay.
No picnic, but a party.
That'll work. All right, anything else? If not, I'm looking.
Audience.
What's that? Is that something, you involved in that? Oh, okay.
Not that I know of.
Surprise.
Russ, I will miss the next 2 meetings. I'll just be out of town. I already know that.
Okay, Kristen. We'll make a note.
Thank you.
If not, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Sport.
Moved and supported. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And everybody have a good time. I'll see you in a month.